bellicose merchant looked exactly like what it was, a 20-year-old cargo hauler that someone had bolted guns onto in a desperate hurry, which, to be fair, was precisely what Captain Vex Chen wanted everyone to think. "Captain, the Zilithran observers are laughing again," reported her communications officer, a wiry woman whose fingers danced across holographic displays with the practiced ease of someone who'd spent too many years intercepting alien chatter. "They're taking bets on how long we'll last." "What are the odds?" Chen asked, not looking up from the tactical display showing her ship's alleged weapon placements. 14-1 against a surviving first contact. Generous. The Zilithrans weren't wrong to laugh. From the outside, the bellicose merchant presented a comedy of human military engineering. Plasma cannons jutted from cargo bay doors at awkward angles, missile pods hung off the hull like metallic tumors. The shield generators, clearly retrofitted civilian models, hummed with a sort of unstable energy signature that suggested they might explode before enemy fire could finish the job. Chief Engineer Kowalski emerged from the lower decks, his environmental suit streaked with what appeared to be coolant fluid. "Ma'am, the Tellurian military attaché wants to inspect our engine modifications. He's concerned about our combat readiness." Chen's smile could have cut glass. "By all means, show him everything he expects to see." The attaché in question possessed the sort of rigid professionalism that marked career military officers across species. His exoskeletal frame clicked with mechanical precision as he examined the jury-rigged fusion drive, the hastily welded armor plating, the comically oversized targeting computers that seemed to compensate for human reflexes everyone knew were inferior to proper military hardware. "Your power coupling efficiency is 30% below optimal," the Thyllorian observed, his translated voice carrying notes of barely concealed disdain. "These modifications will fail under sustained combat stress." "We're aware," Chen replied, maintaining the tone of someone trying very hard to project confidence while knowing she was doomed. "But it's what we could manage on short notice." "Short notice?" The attaché's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned to recognize as alien amusement. "Your species has had 18 months to prepare since joining the coalition. 18 months isn't long when you're starting from merchant marine surplus." This was technically true. What the attaché didn't know, what none of the coalition observers knew, was that humans had been preparing for this war since before they'd encountered their first alien species. The bellicose merchant represented the culmination of military doctrines developed in the shadows of human space, tested in conflicts that officially never happened, refined by strategists who understood that the most valuable weapon in any arsenal was the enemy's own assumption. The ship's actual weapon systems lay dormant beneath layers of carefully crafted mediocrity. The real armor plating masqueraded as structural reinforcement. The true shield generators remained offline, their signatures masked by the deliberately unstable civilian models that everyone could see and dismiss. "Captain," her tactical officer called from across the bridge, "we're receiving new intelligence on the Hegemarch fleet movements. They've accelerated their timeline." The Hegemarch Dominion, ancient, arrogant, and utterly convinced of their military superiority, had been expanding through this galactic sector for 3 centuries. The coalition represented the first organized resistance they'd encountered, which was why the coalition was losing. "How long until they reach the Kepler junction?" Chen asked. 72 hours. "Then we'd better be ready to spring our little surprise." The Tellurian attaché's head swiveled toward her with mechanical interest. "Surprise?" "Nothing dramatic," Chen assured him, "just hoping we can take a few of them with us before they finish the job." As the attaché departed, undoubtedly to file another report about human military inadequacy, Chen allowed herself a moment of genuine anticipation. The Hegemarch had spent centuries conquering species who fought exactly as expected, with honor, tradition, and predictable tactical doctrines. But they had never encountered humans. "Engineering," she called. "How long until our real systems come online?" "Give me 6 hours to finish the masquerade," Kowalski's voice crackled through the comm. "After that, we can show these bastards what a proper warship looks like." Through the observation deck's transparent aluminum, Chen watched coalition vessels positioning themselves for what their commanders assumed would be a valiant last stand. None of them suspected that the most important battle of the war would be fought by the ship they'd written off as a desperate human gesture. The bellicose merchant drifted through space like a wounded animal, broadcasting just enough electromagnetic noise to seem like a ship held together by hope and recycled components. It was a performance worthy of an award, if anyone survived to give them one. Fleet Admiral Kethmoran had conquered 47 worlds, each victory adding another ceremonial scar to his carapace. Standing before the holographic display of the Kepler Junction, he studied the coalition forces with the dispassionate interest of a predator selecting prey. "Lord Admiral," his intelligence officer chittered, "the humans have deployed their warship." The emphasis on the final word spoke volumes. Kethmoran's 4 eyes tracked to the energy signature representing the bellicose merchant, currently broadcasting distress signals with all the subtlety of a dying star. "Show me their communications intercepts." The air shimmered as decoded human transmissions filled the command chamber. Chen's voice, artificially stressed through careful audio manipulation, crackled across the bridge. "Structural integrity failing on Deck 7. Power fluctuations in the main drive. Estimate 12 hours maximum before complete system failure." "Pathetic," muttered Sub-Admiral EX, his biomechanical implants whirring with disdain. "They're broadcasting their weaknesses on open channels." "Perhaps," Kethmoran mused, "though I find their desperation illuminating. Intelligence, what do we know about human military philosophy?" "Limited data, Lord Admiral. They've participated in minor coalition skirmishes, always in support roles. Their strategic thinking appears fundamentally flawed. They prioritize individual survival over tactical advantage." Kethmoran's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. 3 centuries of conquest had taught him to recognize patterns, and humans represented something unusual, a species so militarily incompetent that they'd somehow survived long enough to develop interstellar travel. "Communications," he ordered. "Open a channel to the human vessel." The bellicose merchant's response came with suspicious promptness given their reported system failures. Chen appeared on screen, her uniform disheveled, in ways that somehow managed to look both authentic and slightly theatrical. "This is Captain Chen of the Coalition Defense Force. We're experiencing critical system malfunctions and request immediate assistance." Kethmoran's laughter resonated through the command chamber, a sound like grinding metal that had terrorized dozens of species. "Captain Chen, I am Fleet Admiral Kethmoran of the Hegemarch Dominion. Your request for assistance is—" "Admiral, we have families aboard coalition civilian vessels. If you could guarantee safe passage—" "Captain," Kethmoran interrupted, "your coalition will fall regardless of our actions here. However, your species has shown creativity in joining a conflict clearly beyond your capabilities. I am curious, what did you hope to accomplish with this single, failing vessel?" Chen's expression flickered between defiance and despair. Another carefully rehearsed performance. "We hoped to buy time, maybe take one of your ships with us." "Admiral ship?" Sub-Admiral Yerix's biomechanical laughter synthesized into something resembling mirth. "Captain, our smallest destroyer outguns your entire fleet. Then you won't mind proving it." The transmission ended, leaving Hegemarch contemplating the tactical display. The bellicose merchant had positioned itself exactly where human doctrine suggested it would, between the Hegemarch fleet and the coalition evacuation routes, a gesture as noble as it was futile. "Lord Admiral?" His strategic coordinator pulsed through bioluminescent communication. "The human vassal represents minimal threat. Our scouts report standard coalition weaponry, inferior shielding, and compromised structural integrity. We could bypass them entirely and miss an opportunity to demonstrate our superiority to any surviving coalition forces." Hegemarch's scarred carapace gleamed under the command chamber's lighting. "No. We'll make an example of human audacity. Deploy the 17th Attack Wing, enough firepower to ensure complete destruction, while allowing our other forces to witness the consequences of challenging the Dominion. Shall we attempt capture, Lord Admiral? Human tactical knowledge might prove useful." "Unnecessary. Their tactics are so fundamentally flawed that studying them would be counterproductive." Hegemarch gestured toward the display, where the bellicose merchant continued broadcasting its litany of technical failures. "Besides, they've already told us everything we need to know." As the Hegemarch fleet adjusted course, Hegemarch felt the familiar satisfaction of inevitable victory. Humans had entered this war with typical coalition naivety, expecting honor and tactical sophistication from opponents who'd spent centuries perfecting the art of overwhelming force. They would learn, in their final moments, why the Hegemarch Dominion had never lost a war. The bellicose merchant waited in space like a wounded animal, its distress signals growing increasingly frantic as the most powerful military force in known space approached. 17th Wing approaching optimal firing distance, reported the Hegemarch tactical officer, his voice carrying the bored efficiency of routine extermination. "Target shows no significant defensive maneuvering." Fleet Admiral Hegemarch watched the human vessel with growing amusement. Even faced with annihilation, the bellicose merchant maintained its pitiful charade of technical difficulties. Emergency lights flickered across its hull, while it vented plasma in irregular bursts, classic signs of imminent reactor failure. "Begin bombardment," Hegemarch ordered. "Low-intensity barrage, let them suffer before they die." The first salvo streaked toward the human ship, energy beams designed to cripple rather than destroy. Hegemarch expected to see the pathetic vessel's shields collapse, followed by the inevitable surrender, transmission and desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, something impossible happened. The bellicose merchant moved. Not the sluggish drift of a damaged freighter, but the precise predatory adjustment of a warship acquiring targets. Its hull split open along seams that hadn't existed moments before, revealing weapon emplacements that definitely hadn't been there during the coalition observers' inspections. "What?" Hegemarch began, then stopped as his sensors registered energy signatures that made no sense. "Lord Admiral," his intelligence officer's voice pitched higher with each word, "the target's power output just increased by 1,800%. Those aren't retrofitted civilian systems." The bellicose merchant's response interrupted his analysis. Beams of coherent energy, far beyond anything in coalition arsenals, sliced through space with surgical precision. The lead destroyer of the 17th Wing simply ceased to exist, its molecular bonds dissolved by weapons technology that shouldn't have existed outside Hegemarch laboratories. "Impossible," Sub-Admiral Irix breathed, his biomechanical systems running diagnostic cycles in apparent disbelief. "Those are our own particle disruptors. How did humans acquire Dominion technology?" On the tactical display, the bellicose merchant continued its transformation. What had appeared to be random hull plating rearranged itself into geometric patterns that Hegemarch recognized with growing horror. Adaptive armor matrices, responsive to incoming fire types and calibrated to deflect specific energy frequencies. "Full bombardment," Hegemarch roared. "All ships, maximum firepower." The 17th Wing opened fire with enough energy to sterilize a small moon. The space around the human vessel erupted into a maelstrom of destructive force that should have vaporized anything made of conventional matter. The bellicose merchant absorbed the barrage and asked for more. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice cracked, "their armor is adapting to our weapon signatures in real time. Each successive hit is 40% less effective than the previous." "Then change frequencies." "We are, Lord Admiral. It's learning faster than we can adapt." Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos, broadcast on all Hegemarch frequencies with crystal clarity. "Admiral Hegemarch, thank you for the weapons test. Our defensive systems needed calibration data for Dominion technology." The bellicose merchant began its counterattack in earnest. What followed wasn't a battle, it was a dissection. Weapons that had been hidden beneath false hulls emerged to methodically eliminate Hegemarch vessels with clinical efficiency. Each shot was perfectly placed, exploiting structural weaknesses that suggested intimate knowledge of Dominion ship design. "How?" Hegemarch demanded, watching his fleet die around him. "How do they know our vulnerabilities?" His intelligence officer's response came wrapped in species-specific profanity. "Lord Admiral, they've been watching us. Every battle, every conquest, every tactical doctrine we've employed for the past 50 years, they've recorded everything and designed countermeasures." A Hegemarch heavy cruiser exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. Its own ammunition turned against its hull by precisely targeted gravity manipulators. Another vessel found its command bridge separated from the rest of the ship by what appeared to be localized space-time distortion. "Retreat!" Hegemarch finally managed. "Full retreat!" "Negative, Lord Admiral," Chen's voice replied pleasantly. "I'm afraid we can't allow intelligence about our capabilities to reach Dominion High Command. You understand." The bellicose merchant had stopped pretending to be anything other than what it truly was, a weapon platform so advanced that it made Hegemarch technology look primitive by comparison. Its final salvo eliminated the remaining 17th Wing vessels with contemptuous ease. Only Hegemarch's flagship remained, its shields failing under sustained assault from weapons that redefined the possible. 3 hours later, Fleet Admiral Hegemarch sat in a coalition detention cell, contemplating the fundamental restructuring of galactic power dynamics. His scarred carapace, once a symbol of inevitable conquest, now seemed quaint, like tribal war paint in an age of orbital bombardment. Across the galaxy, emergency sessions convened in chambers that hadn't seen such activity since the formation of interstellar governments. The Thylorian Assembly demanded explanations for how their military assessments had been so catastrophically wrong. Zilithran betting pools faced their first total payout failure in recorded history. Coalition leadership discovered they'd been allied with a species that could have ended the war at any point, but had chosen not to. Ambassador Rex Talon of the Thylorian Military Council stood before a holographic projection of the battle's aftermath. 17 destroyed Hegemarch vessels, 0 human casualties, and enough salvage technology to revolutionize 3 civilizations. "Explain," he demanded of the human representative, "how your merchant marine surplus managed to single-handedly eliminate our sector's primary threat." Dr. Helena Vasquez, humanity's chief diplomatic liaison, possessed the sort of calm demeanor that suggested she'd been expecting this conversation for months. "We prefer to think of it as aggressive recycling. The Grek sentry, you obliterated an entire Hegemarch attack wing." Actually, we vaporized 2 attack wings. The first one was just warming up. Ambassador Rex Talon's exoskeleton creaked with barely controlled outrage. Your species has been deliberately concealing military capabilities that render our entire defensive strategy obsolete. Concealing? Dr. Vasquez's eyebrows rose with practiced innocence. We filed all the appropriate documentation, cargo vessel modification permits, civilian defense upgrade authorizations, standard merchant marine weaponry licensing. Everything was completely legal under coalition regulatory frameworks. Legal technicalities do not explain how you developed technology superior to the Hegemarch Dominion. Superior is subjective. We simply approached the problem differently. The problem, as it turned out, was that humans had been preparing for this war since their first contact with galactic civilization. While other species focused on traditional military build-up, bigger ships, better armor, more powerful weapons, humanity had taken a characteristically lateral approach. They'd studied every available record of Hegemarch tactics, reverse-engineered captured technology, and developed countermeasures for weapon systems that their enemies considered invincible. More importantly, they'd done it while maintaining the fiction that humans were just another primitive species stumbling through space on outdated technology. Captain Chen's debriefing revealed the scope of the deception. The bellicose merchant was one of 47 supposedly converted cargo haulers scattered throughout human space. Each one a mobile weapons platform capable of eliminating enemy fleets through careful application of superior technology and tactical surprise. The beauty of it, Chen explained to a room full of stunned coalition intelligence officers, is that nobody expects cargo haulers to be a threat. We've been deploying them for 2 years, and everyone just assumed we were compensating for our technological limitations. Sub-Admiral Erix, recovering from capture in the Coalition medical bay, provided additional perspective during his interrogation. They let us scan their ships. They invited inspections. They broadcast their supposed weaknesses on open frequencies. Every piece of intelligence we gathered confirmed human military inferiority. What the Dominion hadn't realized was that humans excel at managing information flow. Every scan had shown exactly what human strategists wanted their enemies to see. Every intercepted communication had reinforced preconceptions about human desperation and technological inadequacy. The final irony emerged during coalition strategic planning sessions, where military analysts discovered that humanity possessed the most sophisticated intelligence network in known space. For 3 years, humans had been quietly observing, cataloging, and preparing countermeasures for every major military power in the galaxy. So, Ambassador Rex Allen finally asked, "What happens now?" Dr. Vasquez's smile carried the weight of species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of beneficial underestimation. Now, we continue being the bumbling newcomers who got lucky once. After all, it would be terrible if our enemies realized that 46 more cargo haulers are still out there, waiting for someone else to underestimate human engineering. The galaxy, it seemed, would need to recalibrate its assumptions about the species that built starships from spare parts and called them merchant vessels.